Good day. It's August 17th, 2026. Only 85 days left before the November 3 general election, and things are pumping up for the Democratic Party as the country witnessed what happened this week in states that part of the region dubbed the Blue Wall, which include Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. I'm Jessica Rolla. Welcome to this week's edition. Last week's primary election in Minnesota and Wisconsin showed a significant telltale of the kind of trouble the Republican Party will be facing in the general election. And this is why. In Wisconsin, that was won by Trump in 2024 by just a margin or 0.6%. The Democratic turnout in the primary election for the gubernatorial race was 265,267 more than the Republican turnout. In the Democratic gubernatorial primary, James Crowley, the Milwaukee County chief executive, came out as the winner. In the Republican gubernatorial primary, Tom Tiffany, an election denier who did not certify Biden's win, has won the nomination. Even the crowded Democratic primary, a total of 786,086 Democrats voted, compared to Republican where 490,819 voted. That's a variance of 265,267 votes in what has been considered a purple state during the last two presidential elections. This primary election was observed as so telling that a big chunk of Trump voters had swayed to the Democrats, included a portion of Republicans who flipped to the other side and voted based on their concerns of situations in their state. The Democratic gubernatorial nomination contest was a tight race between James Crowley, the first African-American chief executive of Milwaukee County, and Francesca Hong, a Wisconsin-born of Korean immigrant parents and was backed by progressive Democrats that backed El Said in Michigan, winning the Senate nomination. Now, let's look at the Minnesota primary. U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, who won the Democratic nomination for governor, and will face the Republican nominee Lisa DeMuth, who is a speaker in the Wisconsin State House of Representatives. With Senator Klobuchar leaving her Senate seat, the Democratic Senate primary was won by Peggy Flanagan, who will face off with the Republican Michelle Tafoya. My pillow guy, Mike Lindell, who was endorsed by Trump, finished second in the Republican Senate primary. He lost. Why is the governor race as important to the nation and the national parties, Democrats and Republicans, who are so involved in watching the outcome? For some important things that affect who controls Congress. Remember the recent district gerrymandering in Texas and who was started by Republican Governor Greg Abbott? And the equal response in California by Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom? Elections are overseen by the state, and the state governor has the power to influence the state legislature to enact laws that can favor their party. But historically, many of its illegal gerrymandering and bad election laws in the state made legal by the Supreme Court are mostly brainchild of Republicans, according to numerous political observers and civil rights groups. Let's have one more look at the nation leading to the 120th Congress in January when we come back.
What does your child dream of becoming? In the I Want to Be book series, young readers follow children as they discover the power of learning, leadership, and helping others. The series of 22 books from Ivory Publishing is an inspiring collection that introduces children to careers, confidence, purpose, and possibility. Give a child more than a book. Available now on Amazon, in paperback, and on Kindle. Or visit www.ivorypublishing.com. llc.net.
I'm Scott Black. When I was first elected, North Las Vegas was a lot like my classic VW bus. It needed some attention. Now an awesome new NLV is taking shape, kind of like this. And we're headed into a future where we have the best of everything. Stronger public safety, improved neighborhoods, new amenities, and higher paying jobs for working families. I'm Scott Black, and I'm asking for your vote so together we can bring this momentum to every road in our city.
don't waste your money on CBD. Now hold on, don't turn the video off. If you're already taking CBD, good for you. You're on a good path, but there's a much better way. If you're thinking, should I try CBD? Let me answer a couple of questions that might help you make the decision to even try a CBD product. First of all, let's answer the question, what is CBD and where does it come from? CBD is cannabidiol. It's called a cannabinoid, and it's found naturally in many different plants. In fact, as you see here in the Cannabicae family, there's hops, sandalwood, hackberry, of course, hemp, even marijuana, but we're not talking here about marijuana. In fact, we're going to be talking about hemp. As I started to mention, CBD can be found in hemp, in rather high levels, as a matter of fact. But here's the problem. CBD is not the only cannabinoid you can find in hemp. Hemp contains over 100 different cannabinoids. In fact, in the Cannabicae family, hemp contains the highest level of cannabinoids of any plant, which is why it's the most popular source for CBD. But as I mentioned, CBD is only one of the cannabinoids that you can find in hemp. Hemp contains high levels also of CBC, CBG, and CBN. So why would we want CBC, CBD, CBG, and CBN? Well, as we look at the benefits here from CBD alone, you can see these benefits are great. I mean, who wouldn't want these benefits, right? But let's look at the benefits you can get from CBC. You see, they compound with CBD and offer yet even more. But then let's also now look at CBG. CBG has even more benefits. So naturally, anybody looking for the maximum benefit you can derive from hemp would want CBC, CBG, and CBD. But don't stop there. CBN also has fantastic benefits. So if you're looking for a great hemp product and you're contemplating trying a CBD product, don't just buy CBD. And please, don't buy that cheap gas station grocery store stuff. It's just that, cheap, and it won't benefit you at all. But if you can get a high grade, medical grade in fact, hemp product that contains CBC, CBD, CBG, and CBN, now you are unleashing the full power of your body that can only happen if you have all four of these cannabinoids in your body. If you're taking CBD, you're getting roughly 1/4 of the benefit that hemp can give you. Well, fourth is better than nothing, I suppose, but when you want 100% of all the benefits that hemp can give you, that is what happens if you take CBD with CBC, CBG, and CBN. So now you're probably asking, well, where on earth do I get all four of those? The problem now is solved. CBX4 contains high levels, not trace levels, and this is very important, contains high levels of all four of these cannabinoids, which means every benefit we listed up until now is available to you naturally in CBX4 and only in CBX4.
Welcome back to The Pulse. The control of the House of Representatives in the 102nd Congress in January 3rd, 2027 is by all polling points to the Democratic as very much favored. But what about the U.S. Senate? We have to remember that the Democrats need to win all incumbent seats and flip 4 more seats to their side in order to have majority control in the U.S. Senate. For the past 6 weeks, there are now 6 states where Senate races are in play, and they are Texas, North Carolina, state of Maine, Alaska, Ohio, and Iowa. Let's take a look at recent polling averages from Real Clear Politics. In Texas, James Tallarico is favored against Ken Paxton by 1.6%. In North Carolina, Governor Cooper, who is running for the Senate, is on top by an average of 7.6%. In the state of Maine, Democrat Troy Jackson, the state Senate president, is favored by a margin of 2.3% against Republican incumbent Susan Collins. In Alaska, former Congresswoman Mary Peltola, the Democrat, is on top by an average of 0.2% against Republican incumbent Dan Sullivan. This race is right now considered a tie. Let's look at Ohio. Former Senator Sherrod Brown, the Democrat, is running for the seat that was once held by now Vice President J.D. Vance. Sherrod Brown is on top by an average of 0.6% from 6 pollsters. This is right now a tie against Senator John Husted, who was an appointee to fill J.D. Vance's seat. The 6th state is Iowa, which was never in the mind of the Democratic National Committee as a target. But the unpopularity of Senator Joni Ernst, who decided not to seek re-election, opened up a possibility for Democrats. Josh Turek, the Iowa State House Representative, is now a plus 4% in Fox polling, but Republican opponent Congresswoman Hinson is only favored by 0.7% in the RCP average. This is right now also a tie. Between now and November, as this economic situation is hurting people in every state, culture wars that Republicans are used to as their campaign arsenal seems to no longer work, as observed by multiple wins by Democrats in special elections, even in red states. Please stay with us for the interview of Henderson City Mayor Michelle Romero after this.
We use headphones as a part of our everyday lives. Whether we're at work, getting exercise, meditating, in transit, studying, practicing, or relaxing.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sway, the founder of Aircom. I would like to introduce the world's first wireless airflow audio earbuds. As a festival and a concert junkie, I really enjoy the live experience of being there and feeling the music. When we started developing Airflow, our goal was to reproduce that live experience using earbuds.
The problem with traditional headphones is that the speakers are located inside of the earpiece, literally giving you centimeters before the audio hits your eardrum.
What Aircom is doing, they're the first company to actually address the fact that there needs to be a space involved associated with having the sound waves expand fully.
The difference between traditional headphones and Aircom audio is that the air tube gives you 8 times more space, allowing the sound waves to fully develop before they actually hit your eardrums. And this gives it a much more live, natural sound, just like in a recording studio.
It's real nice that someone actually addressed the physics associated with how sound comes out.
The challenge we had was to create an earbud with enough airspace for the sound to fully develop and breathe. Unfortunately, traditional earbuds are about the size of a jelly bean, and there's just not enough airspace. However, that changed when we developed Airflow Audio. Airflow uses an air tube to deliver 6 to 8 times more airspace than traditional earbuds. The end result is a true live listening experience, just like you're at a festival or a concert. We also added magnets to the back of the earpieces so you can wear it around your neck when you're not using it.
Being that the drivers are 8 inches from the earpiece. The magnets do not affect the integrity of the sound at all.
The orange line represents the frequency transmitting through the wire to the speaker, which then converts to the blue sound wave that develops more as it travels up the air tube, producing a balanced, full body and live listening experience.
Another really cool feature is that these earbuds are sweat-proof and water-resistant because they're coated with a super hydrophobic nanotechnology. So now you can be on a skateboard or riding a motorcycle and listen to music as if you were watching a live show or actually in a recording studio.
We're coming to you for help in bringing these unparalleled earbuds to market.
Welcome back to The Pulse. Joining us now here at our Phil-Am TV studios is Mayor Michelle Romero of Henderson, Nevada, who is running for re-election. She's on the November ballot for Henderson. Madam Mayor, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start by introducing yourself to our audience and give us a little background, personal or professional.
I am a native of Henderson. I have lived here my whole life. I raised my children here, my husband and I together. Been married to my husband, who's a veteran, for 40 years. We have 4 sons and we have 11 grandchildren. I spent my entire career also serving the city of Henderson as an employee. And I worked in various departments, but the vast majority of the time that I worked for the city, I was in the redevelopment department. So Water Street District was my project, Cadence, many other fun areas. And it was my job to make sure that there was investment and activity and amenities in the older parts of our city that were on par with our current and newer parts.
Great. And then Henderson is one of the fastest growing cities in the Pacific West. And as a mayor, what are the biggest challenges you feel like Henderson is faced with during your first term as mayor?
So if you'll remember, in the 90s and early 2000s, Henderson was experiencing double-digit growth year over year. It was just explosive growth. Now we are at about 1.5% to 3.5% growth year over year, and it is much more manageable, much easier to keep up with. So we are able to look forward 5 and 10 years ahead of time to see what are our infrastructure needs, what are our public safety needs, what are our employee needs, how is technology changing, and how can we stay on top of the trends. All of those types of things are much easier to do when it is slow, steady growth like that compared to what we had in the past. And we've got a lot of experience with really fast growth that makes it much easier for us to manage slow, steady growth.
Great. And then, so you were born in Henderson and came back to serve your city after college. So what is it about Henderson that is inspiring you to be this public servant? And if you could also share your vision of Henderson in the next 10 years or 20 years beyond your term as mayor.
So I actually have lived in Henderson my entire life, and I came back from my husband serving in the military. So he served overseas, and we came back after that. I again served as an employee of the city of Henderson, and was here to see from a resident's perspective, the changes that were happening over time, but also from an employee's perspective of what was happening and how decisions made at City Hall affect the people living in our community, and why it matters to listen to the community and to make sure that you're staying in tune with not only what's happening right now, but what you want to see in the future. And as I said before, I have a lot of grandkids and many of them live in Henderson. I want to make sure that Henderson remains the award-winning, wonderful community that it is now. We receive award after award after award. We're one of the safest cities in America. We're one of the best places to retire, best places to for military and for veterans. The list goes on and on. We've received the Malcolm Baldrige Award for governing excellence and making sure that residents are getting a bang for their buck, because we are continuously improving our performance and making sure that we're using data to back the changes that we're making. And so my goal for the next 5, 10, 20 years is to make sure we stay on track with that. One of the hardest things to do now is to keep up with technology and how that is impacting operations, and what we can do to better streamline operations to make it easier for residents to access their government. We have so many new technologies out there, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we're being responsible with the information and careful to make sure that people's information is protected and that we are doing everything the right way and that we are ensuring that the data we're using is correct, so that we are able to then make the best choices for what we put out there in the future. And I would say that's the biggest challenge going forward, making sure that our technology stays on top and that we're not running behind the curve. Government a lot of times runs behind the private sector, and we're more hesitant to try new technology and things like that. We need to we're a big city now. We need to make sure that we are on top of all of those things.
Are you also referring to also data centers?
Not necessarily data centers, but data in general, and using artificial technology is here. Artificial intelligence is here to stay. It's not going to go away. So we need to understand how to manage it best, how to use it to the benefit of our residents, and make sure that it is augmenting the services that we have, not replacing the people that we have, but augmenting what we already have and doing it better.
Yes, I agree. And then with the ever-growing population of Henderson, is the city's finances able to catch up with the corresponding demand for community or public services?
So one of the awards I talked to you about is for our budgeting as well. We win the gold medal award every single year, I believe for the last 16 years, for the way that we budget for our community. We are very conservative in our approach, but at the same time, just like I said before, we use data to make our decisions. We have a strategic plan. We follow that plan very, very closely, and that's how we prioritize our funding, and that's how we prioritize our resources. As we go forward, our state, the way our state is set up for its taxes, is not real sustainable for municipalities. That's something that we are going to work with at the state level to make sure that we are making the changes that need to be made that are sustainable for our communities and our state. So the way we have our tax caps and the way we have depreciation over time as our housing stock ages, cities' revenues are declining. They're not increasing despite the growth in housing and businesses and things like that. That you can't have that. As your population grows, your funding should be growing with it, and that's not happening. And so it's something that we need to find a fix for at the state level.
Okay. So countywide, as a habitable territory keeps expanding, the police services are getting spread so thinly in resources. What's the situation in Henderson, and can it afford to hire more police personnel?
So we have hired more police personnel. In fact, we have the largest academy class we've ever had in our city's history right now. Once this graduation class happens and they're back out on the street, there will be a 0% vacancy rate in the city of Henderson for its police department, or very close to it. There's always people who retire and things like that, but it will be very close to zero. We have more officers on the street than we've ever had before. Just in the last year, we've increased the number of officers on the street by about 20%. Our crime rate rates are down in all categories over the last year, and they're continuing in that right direction. We are very, very good now at communicating and cooperating with our sister agencies, with Metro, with North Las Vegas, to make sure that our training is consistent, that we're working with one another. Should a big event ever happen, hopefully it never does, but should it happen, our officers across the county are prepared to respond to that need.
Great. And then, so we're almost out of time, Michelle, for this segment. So I'll let you speak to your constituents and voters of Henderson City. So please feel free to speak directly to them.
Okay. So as I said, I am a resident of the city of Henderson for my entire life. Henderson gave me a very great opportunity growing up, not only for just a happy life, but for a career. And I have learned over time that giving back to your community is one of the most important things you can do. We have been able, under my leadership, to attain the lowest property tax rates in the state, along with the highest property values, the highest bond ratings in the state, while maintaining the best quality of life possible. We just secured our parks funding for the next 30 years, and we are looking forward to new opportunities and amenities for our residents that keeps our city the best city it can possibly be. We live in a premier community that we should be very proud of, and that should continue under my leadership for the next 4 years.
Michelle Romero, running for re-election for Henderson Mayor. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
And to our viewers worldwide, please join us again next week for another edition of The Pulse. I'm Jessica Rolla. Thank you for watching, and God bless your week.